Welcome to Transform Now, a podcast focused on intelligent automation and brought to you by SS&C Blue Prism. On this program, we talk about how organizations globally are rethinking the way they operate, utilizing process orchestration and AI-enabled digital workers to free up humans to do the work that matters most. We also share insights and tips on how you can embrace this new way of working and unleash your full potential. Let's get into the show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Transform Now podcast. I'm Michael Marchuk.
And I'm Brad Hairston.
And this is our weekly pulse check on automation and AI news. Again, before we start off, all the links for our articles we'll be covering today are going to be in the show notes below. So, Brad, let's get us started off with a meaty one here from VentureBeat. Yeah, this one here is goes to an IBM study. The title of the article is, let me go back. What title of the article is Cost and Model Complexity Remains Barriers to Enterprises, AI, and based on their IBM study. So the basis behind it is they went through and as they asked these executives what they thought about AI deployment and any barriers they're looking into, they mentioned a bunch of different there's concerns they had. Cost was one of them, but there were several others. What are your thoughts on some of the activities that they were talking about?
Yeah, I think this study is very interesting. Some of the key findings, I think it substantiates some things you and I have been talking about and what we've been seeing with our customers in particular, that we seem to be sunsetting a little bit in terms of the proliferation of models, but the diversity of models that companies are using continues to increase, and that's not slowing down. In fact, now companies are starting to use small language model, and that takes many different forms as well. So I think it's a mixed bag. I mean, the things in this study definitely seem to support this idea. It says the average number of different AI models being used by companies is 11. And that the survey respondees said they project this to increase 50% within the next 3 years. So, yeah, it looks like models, diversity in models and having the ability to use very specialized models for certain tasks, that's going to continue to be a big deal to companies across different industries. So
yeah, I think that was the key there. Is that was what you just said, the specialization of the models, because I think some of the models are tuned in such a way that these organizations are using them for very particular activities. So a general model may be a great model for a broad set of things, just like a person coming into a job. They may know a bunch of things to start with, but then they learn very specifically how your organization does something. So that becomes very tuned knowledge, a tuned application of that. So I think we're going to see the same thing, that these models are going to be a little more focused on what they're trying to accomplish rather than more general purpose.
Yeah, definitely. The survey also revealed that there's a increasing acceptance of open source models. Expected to grow by 63% over the next 3 years. So that's pretty fascinating. And most of the survey recipients or respondees said that model complexity and costs are two of the biggest challenges they have. I think we've certainly heard a lot about that from podcast guests and from articles we've been reading. And it raises the question, are companies going to continue to add the types of talent and the resources they need to be able to support and cultivate and enhance these models, or are they going to rely on third parties? The way they're responding to this survey, it makes me think they're probably going to want to bring more of that in-house, but time will tell.
Yeah, I agree. So we talk about organizations who are adopting AI, and we're also seeing that a bunch of commercials on TV, whether it's through Meta or somebody else, have really been promoting their versions of co-pilots or whatnot. And of course, if you happen to have been watching the Olympics, you likely saw this ad from Google, their Gemini model, who was helping the little girl write a fan letter. I've seen a lot of stuff online, but Brad, what was your take on this particular, both the ad, but and the other article that talked about it?
Yeah, this I've been watching a lot of Olympic coverage, like I'm sure you have. So I see this ad constantly, and besides the fact that I'm tired of seeing it, it just really irks me because there are so many great examples of how Gen AI can be used to increase productivity, to augment creativity. So personal examples, work-related examples, industry-related examples. And they choose this. They say, hey, we're going to let it, a dad is going to ask it to write a fan letter for his daughter to an athlete that she admires. It would have been so much better if they had chosen one of the other examples. And instead, this dad would have said, I could have used Gen AI to write that, but I'm going to sit down and help my daughter write an article from her own or write a letter from her own perspective that's heartfelt, that shows her own emotions and thoughts. And so I think they whiffed on this one. I did a post on it on LinkedIn because I was pretty upset, having seen the ad for the 27th time, and it just reminded me that I think they made a mistake in the way that they focused on this as an example of Gen AI.
Yeah, I would agree. Certainly, I understand that their idea of being able to try to allow someone who's non-technical to leverage the tool to accomplish something. I get that if that was truly their purpose, but certainly taking it to this level, I believe was tone deaf in terms of their execution for sure. So
yeah,
I'll let everyone read your LinkedIn post. We'll leave a link for that as well, so they can get your full thoughts on that one. Now to a very meaty article from the Harvard Business Review, which they have so many good authors. I recommend anybody to just kind of browse some of the articles they have because they're fantastic. This one is called AI is Making Economists Rethink the Story of Automation. And like I said, this is quite a long, very well-researched article and very well portrayed article. So again, highly recommend people to go actually read the whole article. Make sure you make yourself a cup of coffee before you do, because it is quite long. but there's so much good stuff in here that, so Brad, give me your first takes on this, because I've had some thoughts of my own, but I want to hear what your thoughts are as you kind of from an overall perspective.
It was definitely the deepest article of the four that you chose. I liked it a lot. It is, you have to read it a couple times to make sure you get all of it. I think the key points I would pull out are, this idea that, we've been through technology revolutions before, and there's always a lot of fuss about jobs going away and it's going to result in rampant unemployment. But in the end, it makes us better. People don't suffer. There are new jobs created. There are, wages may be higher as a result of using technology instead of manual labor to do certain things. And the article is suggesting that there are some economists that are now starting to rethink that. They're looking at the fact that AI specifically may benefit certain groups of people, maybe more highly educated, people that have been to college or have received a technical degree, but it won't necessarily impact or affect people that aren't as educated or people in lower income economies. So they talk a lot about this skill, they call it skill biased technology change, and they say it makes us more productive, but it can affect some occupations and skill sets more than others. So that's an interesting statement, and I can't argue against that. I think what they're saying makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I mean, I think they're smart, the people doing this study, and they're really trying to make sure that technology transformation achieves the right objective, and that it's transforming all of our lives, not just some people's lives, and that that skills and what have you can rise up, and that we can create new things. So yeah, a really deep and thought provoking piece. I'm going to have to read it a couple more times to make sure I appreciate all that they're trying to speak to. But it is a very important topic. It's something that we as a society do need to come to terms with as we continue to see more and more and faster technology revolutions. What are we doing? Are we taking care of everyone in our society? Because people are going to be impacted in different ways. And I mean, I don't think there's any argument about that.
That's true. So there's a couple of things that I came up with. And certainly coming at it from an economist standpoint, which is who wrote this article, the concept behind the way work is automated and what comes through the whole process of automation or adopting new technologies. They mentioned that, generally speaking, as new technologies are introduced, the work changes and people, there aren't a net loss of jobs because there's work is changing. Those jobs transfer into something else and the people are reskilled and become, again, remember, this is an economist talking, to do that. So there's challenges when the rate of technology adoption is such that the job transfer can't keep up. And so now you are going to have net loss of jobs because the people can't be trained fast enough to keep up with the adoption of the new technology in that. So I thought that was one interesting concept. And the other one, at your point, was, making use of the right technology. And a quote from this one that I thought I wanted to say is, rather than merely automating the tasks we currently perform, we should invent entirely new ways for AI to make our lives better and new ways for humans to develop and use expertise. So it's not simply just automation for automation's sake. It's reinventing how we're doing it because the technology is so unique that we should take advantage of those unique properties to get the most out of it for both the organization, but also for the employees and the customers that are working.
Right. Yep.
So
agreed.
Our fourth one, our bonus, as I always like to do, a little bonus question here. Hundreds of Taco Bell drive-thrus, this is from MSN, hundreds of Taco Bell drive-thrus are set to be AI run by the end of the year. Now, I've talked with a couple folks on the podcast on this already about specifically fast food restaurants, their introduction of robots like Flippy, which flips burgers, like a physical robot that actually flips burgers. Now we're having AI introduced through the drive-thrus and ordering windows and whatnot. Where do you see the trajectory of where fast food is going? Certainly, according to this article, but in your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm intrigued by this one because we're not talking about ordering parts for a SpaceX rocket ship.
Right.
We're talking about ordering tacos. How hard, how much variety can there be in the way customers are doing their ordering? I'm questioning what AI can add to the picture here because it's pretty basic. Combine that with the fact that, and the article mentions, there's a report from last year that said Taco Bell has the fastest, most efficient drive-through in the business. So it's already, by industry standards, the best. And then Yum Brands says, oh, and by the way, we're not replacing any workers from doing this with AI. So they're not they can't be any better than they already are, and they're not going to replace humans as a result of this. So I'm just questioning what they're going to get out of it. It feels like a Me Too kind of thing. And if it is a Me Too approach, they should pay attention to what McDonald's did, because they just pulled out of their pilot. They ended it. They had a lot of miscues that apparently are on YouTube. I haven't gone and looked at them, but they were testing it out in 100 drive-thrus, and I think they're rethinking it now after trying to use it in their environment. So yeah, I guess I would like to know more about why they think this is a very strategic and compelling thing to do to come into their environment, which is already successful and it's doing what it needs to do. I've been to Taco Bell drive-thrus a million times. It's about a 45-second process, and my orders are not always extremely simple because I have family members that have very specific, very picky about what they get. Never had an issue with that. But I guess they have their reasons. We'll find out.
I suspect when they say they're not replacing workers, again, depending on where you are in the country, I know by us here, going through a Taco Bell by us here is a slightly more painful experience than perhaps that you've experienced. And oftentimes that's related to the fact that they don't have enough employees currently working to be able to fulfill the activities for the restaurant. So in that environment, they're not going to be replacing workers because they don't have enough to start with. So this is going to be yet another way they're going to allow customers to interact and provide orders, similar to the fact that people have their apps and they order ahead and those orders are fulfilled internally. There's nobody taking the order.
Right.
Your app is taking the order. So in my mind, this is just an extension of that allows you to have a voice interface. Now, I know McDonald's I saw some of those videos and how poor their performance was and how mocked it was on online. But that's an implementation. I think the technology as a whole, because I see plenty of other interactions where the interactions were so fluid and so human-like that it really made me think maybe we are at a point now where this could be leveraged in a way. So again, I think it's going to be about how they're implementing it, what they're trying to get out of it. In my case, you see this. My experience, your experience are slightly different, but I don't think they're trying to do anything but help the customers, get their experience elevated even further by having rapid responses and always friendly people who are literally always ready. So I guess I said people, it's not people. Order takers who are AI based, but having them literally always ready and available to do that. So I think we're going to see this across, especially the fast food restaurants where margins are tight as they are already. And there's an article this past week talked about how consumers are starting to buy more or less activities through fast food through McDonald's. So they're going to have to find a way to keep those customers they do have happy with the materials that they're providing to them in a way that they will keep on coming back to experience that over and over again. So interesting places we're going these days.
Yeah.
So, well, again, if you have any questions about our articles we read, our links are in the show notes here. We are so happy that you joined us for this week's edition of our AI news and automation. So please take a look at that and talk to you next week.
Thank you for listening to Transform Now, the podcast from SS&C Blue Prism. You can find all of our episodes on your favorite podcast channel, as well as YouTube. To stay on top of the hottest topics in the world of intelligent automation, subscribe now. The future of work is here.